is the theme to the show. The show is all about you. Not you, but you and your stories. Because everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Brought to you by JeffSeltzer.com.
Hello and welcome to Everybody's a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I am your host, Jeff Seltzer, and as always, I'm thrilled to have you join me in my own personal midlife crisis. This is episode 46. We are almost at a year, which is also super exciting. Can't believe that we've lasted almost a year, which is interesting, especially considering my guest for today was one of the OGs, I guess you can say. She was here around episode 2 as we had a great conversation about Disney World back in, I guess it was July of last year. Introduce her shortly, but I had a few things I wanted to get onto the show before we move on to our amazing guest topic for this week. First thing I would say is, for me, recording is always an interesting concept in the fact that anytime I have a topic, I generally, as I talked about with Ray Sanchez last week, I like pre-produce every episode about 73 times in my head before it actually happens. Like I think about like, hey, if they say this, I'll say that. How does that go? Now, I say that in the fact that my conversation with Ray Sanchez from last week, I recorded like a month ago. So this is the first episode that I've recorded in probably over a month. So for me, after I take a bit of a gap like this, it always takes me a little time to kind of get back into recording, get in the headspace for it and such. So I'm really excited that today's topic is an easy one for me. It's someone I've talked to in the past. It's a topic that I'm very comfortable with. It's also a topic that I had a lot of fun with a few weeks ago when I was in Orlando. So again, I know I keep alluding to and teasing to the topic for today, but we'll get into that shortly. But again, some episodes are easier versus tougher for me to do, especially if it's a guest that I've met before, have not met before, things like that. You know, when I talk to Marcus or Daniel or Megan, it's very easy because we just have like a very good rapport. Sometimes literally the first time that I talk to a guest is right before I hit record. So this is one that I've been looking forward to and I'm really excited to talk about. Before getting to the topic though, again, wanted to talk about the fact that as you guys know, I do like watching movies. I'm a huge movie fan. I'm recording this on Sunday, June 29th. This will drop on Monday, June 30th. 2 big movies have been released this weekend. Yesterday, Beth and I went to go see 28 Years Later. So the old Office joke was this is not a sequel to the Sandra Bullock movie 28 Days. It is a sequel to 28 Days Later and then 28 Weeks Later. I will say it's a fun movie if you like zombies, Dawn of the Dead, stuff like that. You do not have to have seen the original movie from like 20 plus years ago to enjoy or like this movie. I would strongly suggest it if you're into horror or into the zombie genre. Definitely check it out. Additionally, and this kind of also gets into my topic and my guest for today. Later today, I'm going with Robin to go see Megan 2.0. Same name, different concept, I guess. But, you know, it's always a fun movie to go watch. First Megan movie was great. Much like the first and second Megan conversations in this podcast were great. So definitely looking forward to talking to Megan shortly. And then this afternoon, seeing Megan in theaters. So I guess you could say this will be the weekend of Megan, much like May was the Marcus May, I guess, because we had Marcus on 3 of the 4 weeks. I did recently get a Nintendo Switch 2, so no real news there. But if you want to connect or be, let's say, Switch buddies with me, send me a DM and I will get you my friend code. Lastly, before I get to the plugs and then the guest, I've been talking for a while now about having show merchandise, so t-shirts, hats, stuff like that. I've had a few, but I've gone through like online retailers and then super pricey. I mentioned about a month or 2 ago that Allison, my younger daughter, was going to buy a Cricut, and for that she can produce and make merch. So I'm happy to announce that we do have t-shirts for sale. So the general t-shirts you can get them in gray or basically any color you want, you know, for the most part. The way they're set up is if you're watching this in video right now, it'll have the logo on the front. Mine says hosts. I mean, I guess you could put hosts on yours as well if you really wanted to, but it probably wouldn't make much sense. And on the back has the big logo and then says everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. So if you do want to buy a t-shirt for the show, obviously appreciate you supporting the show and supporting my 15-year-old in all of her endeavors. T-shirts are $20. If they're local, I can give you the shirt. If you are not local, I can ship you a shirt. So it'll be $20 plus shipping. I think shipping is like $7 or $8 or whatever. So if you buy multiple shirts, it's probably about $7 total for shipping. If you buy one shirt, it is $7. So shoot me a message either on Instagram or on any of the socials that we have set up, and I will I will facilitate the t-shirt sale if you'd like. We don't have a Shopify store or anything like that. It's literally just a DM of sorts if you want a shirt. Speaking of which, if you do want a shirt or anything else like that, you can always check us out via social media on Instagram at Everybody Has a Story Pod. My personal Instagram is at Seltzer77. We are on TikTok at Everybody Has a Story Pod. My personal Instagram is at Seltzer77. For all things Jeff Seltzer, as always, you can check us out over at jeffseltzer.com for all of your Jeff Seltzer needs. If you want to reach out to the show for any kind of business inquiries, or if you want to send something to me, or like I said before, if you just want to email me and say, hey, I want to buy a shirt, you can email the show at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com. As always, we are available on all podcast platforms. On YouTube and Spotify, we're video. So on YouTube, we are at Everybody Has a Story Pod. Spotify, you can just find us as is. We are audio everywhere else. So we are audio on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, iHeartRadio, probably anywhere you can find a podcast. If you can find a podcast place that we're not at, definitely reach out, and I will do what I can to put the podcast up there. With that said, I did want to introduce my guest for this week. She's been on. She's now a 3-time guest. I'd like to welcome a friend of mine and friend of the show, Megan Fernandez. Megan, how are you today?
Hello, I'm so good. And congratulations to you. Just listening to you talk about your merch and how well the show has been doing. Like, I remember sitting here a year ago with you. So that is awesome. I think I love people who have like a dream. And even if you think it's weird or cringy or like going for it, and you did it. So that's awesome.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And before getting too much into the topic or the show, I mean, you've done some great things yourself too. So I think over the last year, and I think you said being a guest in the show inspired you. You've definitely expanded your social media presence as well, in terms of you put out almost daily TikToks. You're doing a lot more things on Instagram. You've opened up a separate Instagram account to kind of get through some of your different stuff, whatever. So really, really exciting to see. Love watching it. Love seeing all your TikTok videos. Do you want to drop a plug for those while we're talking about it?
Oh, sure. I'm Peloton Disney mom. I love working out. I love Disney, and I love being a mom. So that's kind of it's really Disney heavy and workout heavy, but I am a mom too. So I like to throw that in there, but my kids want like nothing to do with it. So, which is fine. I was a teenager once too, so I get it. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course. Appreciate that. So I'm going to not have you introduce yourself, because if they want to, they can listen to episode 2, or they can listen to episode, I think it was like 14 or so, when you were talking about Disney's Mickey Not So Scary Halloween. So let's get into the topic, because I think this one I could probably talk hours about the topic, but obviously we want to keep it within, let's say, an hour time frame or so. So for those of you that don't know, Universal Studios in Orlando recently opened up a new amusement park. So it officially opened back in May. So I guess last month at this point. It cold opens like in March or April with rehearsals. It's called Epic Universe. And it is, as I was told, the first non-water amusement park opened in the Orlando area since 1999, when Universal Studios opened up Islands of Adventure. Epic Universe was originally announced in the summer, I believe, of 2019. It was supposed to open a few years ago, but because of COVID, they had delays in terms of production. So they finally got it set up, and it's officially opened as of right now. Over the last few months, I've been talking a bit about how I was going to go. Megan and I caught up, and she was like, hey, I'm going too. And I was like, hey, we could talk about it. She's like, absolutely. So here we are today. So there's a couple of things I wanted to kind of talk about from Epic. So Epic Universe obviously has the park, right? So what is the park? What are your favorite parts? There's the Hotel Helios, which was a Epic Universe specific hotel, which is built right on premise at Epic. Because I did Helios and Megan stayed over at one of her favorite Disney places. Let's focus first on Epic, and then I can eventually sprinkle in the upside and downside to staying at Helios. So first of all, Megan, question for you is, do you remember the first time you heard about Epic Universe, and what were your initial thoughts, if you do?
I do remember, and I was super excited. I've gone to Universal since I was little with my family. I think in the earlier episodes, we talked about how my dad would try to cram in as much as we could, like those vacations, SeaWorld, Universal, Disney, everything. So I had been to Universal. I always liked the monsters. That was always my favorite. Jaws, things like that. So when I heard they were doing another park, of course, I'm excited. I'm all for it. I love that stuff.
Awesome. And so they announced it again 6 years ago. It just opened recently. How long ago did you book this trip? So was it a spur of the moment, or was it something that, like, when you found out, okay, it's opening in May, you and the family were like, okay, great, we're going to book it for that time?
So this vacation, we called it a staycation. We booked it in the very end of April. We were going to surprise the kids. The weather was terrible this spring in New Jersey, and we were all just like in a funk, hate being stuck in the house. So we did book it super last minute. And we were not going to go to any parks. And then my husband can't help himself. And he came home from work one day and he's like, I know we said it was just a staycation. We're going to, save money. We're going back to Disney in August. But I bought Epic Universe tickets. So what am I going to say? No, so yeah, it was very last minute.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I'd say from my experience here, long story short, my family, so it's my wife, myself, and my two kids, and we've done a few split vacations over the years where basically I take one kid somewhere and my wife takes the other kid somewhere else. So back in November, Beth took Robin, my older daughter, to go see Taylor Swift in Toronto. Obviously not a cheap vacation, but at the same time also, it was a great time for Robin and Beth to hang out. So when we do something like that, myself and Allison has to go and do something as well. So when we found out that was going to happen, I said to Allison, I said, hey, what would you like to do? So they're doing Toronto for Taylor Swift, which Robin's super excited about. I would have been too. I didn't get to go, so it was what it was. But I was like, Allison, what do you want to do? Her initial thought was she wants to do Las Vegas. And I was like, Las Vegas for 15-year-olds is an interesting proposition because there were certain things she can do and obviously certain things she can't do. So I was trying to figure out, I was trying to map out what that would look like because whatever we end up doing, I want to make sure it's, the perfect vacation planned around the specific kid that I'm taking. So that was kind of on paper. She wanted to go see America's Got Talent. They've got a couple of live shows there. I probably figure I would have taken her to go see Cirque du Soleil, maybe the Sphere, something like that. Eventually, when she found out that Epic Universe was opening, she was like, could we do that instead? I was like, absolutely, why not? So that very quickly pivoted us from Vegas to Universal Studios, Florida. Now, when I say quickly, I mean, this all took place last fall. So it's not like, in my world, that is quickly pivoting because I'm so planned out. Yeah. It was still a year out at the time, whatever. So for most people, this is kind of like, okay, still kind of a thought or a brainstorm. For me, though, it was kind of like, okay, so now instead of doing that, we'll do this. Da, 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 da. So I quickly mapped out. I was like, okay, how about we do like 3 days at Universal, one of those days at Epic, a couple days at Disney. We'll do all sorts of stuff. And she's like, that sounds fantastic. So booked it out. So 2 weeks ago, Allison and I flew down. We flew down on Monday, flew back home on Friday, and we went to Epic Universe on Tuesday. We stayed at 2 different hotels. For the Universal part, we stayed at Helios, which was the Universal Hotel. And then we eventually switched over to the Beach Club, which is a Disney vacation club or just a general Disney hotel as well. So we did 2 nights at each place. Wanted to experience it differently, but also when we're at Universal, we like to be able to kind of walk around and get there easily. And when we're at Disney, do the same thing too. I'll probably do a separate podcast about the Disney experiences because that I could probably go on for hours about as well. But for the topic that we're talking about today, we're talking Epic Universe. So you stayed over at a Disney hotel, correct?
Yes, we were at Saratoga Springs. That's our home resort for our DVC. So we've never stayed there.
Very cool. Very cool. So take me through the experience because for me staying at Helios, one of the upsides of staying at the Helios Hotel is it's literally 3 steps away from the park. Like it has its own entrance to the park, similar to how I don't know if I mentioned it when I stayed at the Hotel Miracosta in Tokyo Disney Sea last year. Same thing. Like legitimately, you're sitting in your hotel room and you can look into the park, which is amazing.
Or people in the park can look right into your hotel room because there was a ton of people in their windows when we were leaving.
That as well. So if anybody is curious, if they want to look up the Toronto Blue Jays play in Rogers Center, formerly known as Skydome. When the stadium opened 30 or 40 years ago, there were people who were caught doing things they probably shouldn't have been with the windows open in their hotel room. So look that up if you're curious. Otherwise, let's keep moving. But what I'll say is, same thing. Helios literally overlooks it. You could see into the rooms. The rooms can see out into the park. So for us, we went downstairs. We got early entry. We showed our room key and our ticket, and we got in early. From a driving from Saratoga Springs, I assume you had a separate parking lot, and I assume it was a different entry to get into the park. You kind of walk me through that?
Yes. So if you're not staying on property, you don't get that early entry that hour before. So we were able to enter the park at 10 a.m. We got there a little bit before and it was smooth sailing. Our parking was super duper close. We parked in Monsters, which I loved because they're my favorite. And we literally walked right in. There was no line. There was no pushing. Like it wasn't chaos. It was super easy. The facial recognition is crazy.
It's
That's
nuts.
how they get you in. I actually was able to get into Helios in the middle of the day while my husband went on Stardust Racers with our son. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have the tickets. How am I going to get in? And they just scanned my face. So that was cool. But yeah, it was super easy. We were right in at 10 a.m. and it was crowded. It was busy, but it wasn't like shoulder to shoulder. I think it was super duper easy.
Nice. And did you buy an express pass, or you just kind of go around and hope for the
We
best of the
didn't.
surprise?
We did not. We were trying to be smart. And since this was so last minute and I
Sure.
was trying to be cost effective, it would have doubled the price. It was basically the price of a ticket. I think it would have been a very worth the money, but we did not. Do you get Express Pass if you stay in the Helios? I asked somebody and they weren't sure.
So it's a great question. So the Legacy Premium Universal hotels you do, but not for Helios. So if you stay at Hard Rock Hotel,
Yeah.
if you stay at Portofino, if you stay at some of those, you get an express pass, but it's only good for Universal Florida and for Islands of Adventure.
Gotcha.
So I think there's legacy contracts because they're owned by Lowe's. Helios is also owned by Lowe's.
Mhm.
But my guess is there were legacy contracts from years ago where
Gotcha.
they just always have it. Because like even today, I think I've done the math before. Like it more than pays for itself to stay at the Hard Rock. Even if you're not going to stay at the Hard Rock, get like a phantom, and they call it like a ghost reservation. Because you could stay at the Hard Rock for like
sure.
for like $500 or $600, and it includes express pass for the day you check in, for basically every day you're at the hotel, for everybody in the room. So like for me, this is a quick universal hack. If I go by myself and I have friends locally, I'll put all my friends' names on the room, get them room keys, and now they have express passes. When those express passes could cost as much as $300 per day per person, so it definitely pays for itself.
Yes, yeah, we've stayed at Hard Rock for that reason, just to get the express pass.
Really great. So unfortunately, Helios does not. Allison and I did get the express passes because we knew we had one day, and we're like, we need to get as much as we can out of this. And you know, we weren't really sure what to expect because it's a new park and stuff like that. So we did it. Of what I read, they did limit capacity for the month of June of 2025 for the reason that, you know, they're still working out some of the kinks. They want the best reviews. They want the best experience overall and such like that. So I think what I experienced and you experienced at Epic is probably lighter than what will happen in more peak periods in the future. So I'd imagine like Christmas 2025 could be pretty chaotic, much like Magic Kingdom is and stuff like that. They may eventually, you know, cap the attendance like around Christmas, but it won't be nearly as low as this was. Like this was pretty light. And even like sitting in my room like midday, like looking out, like it did not look crowded.
Yeah, I agree. Except for Super Mario World, nothing felt crowded. But that land, no matter when we went into it, it was the first portal to our left. So instinctively, I felt like, oh, everybody just went in there. It's got to be less crowded. No, it was like that the entire day. No matter when we went in there, I just felt like it was the most crowded, hands down. And it's loud and it's busy. So you just feel, I was a little like overstimulated.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I'll say this. I mean, I think Super Nintendo World was most crowded or felt most crowded because the way that it's set up like a video game. So if you think about like Super Mario Brothers, the video game, like it's 8-bit, it's kind of tight, it's got walls and such like that. And the way that they kind of recreated that feeling was they had like tight walls. Yeah. So like, you know, if you were in the celestial area, the main area, you know, there's a lot of ways to wander. Or even the monsters area, like you didn't really have like tight walls around. Yeah. But like Nintendo area, like there was the Mario part and then there was the Donkey Kong part. Mm-hmm. They were all very like tight and narrow. Yeah. So I don't necessarily know that it had a lot more people than other sections of the park, but the way that it's constructed, it definitely feels a lot more claustrophobic.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you're in a bowl. And like when you're down looking up, it felt close. I don't know, right? Like you said, I don't know if it was, but it felt it.
And I mean, they're trying to create an environment, and the only way to really create like an 8-bit video game environment is you kind of have to control like all the dimensions, right? So if this is like a 4, 5, or 6 dimensional world, or whatever you want to call it, like they've got to make sure that the floor, the walls, the ceilings, everything is a certain feel to it. I guess getting into the Nintendo World piece, like for me, I would say that was probably my favorite world of the 5. Largely because everyone probably knows at this point, my motion sickness is ridiculous. So this was the one world where I was able to experience everything that the world had. Additionally, about a month or two earlier, which I'll talk about in a future episode, I was in Universal Hollywood, and they have Nintendo World as well, but they have like a subset of this Nintendo World. They only have the Mario Kart ride. They didn't have Donkey Kong or Yoshi. So I was able to kind of like start off recognizing that and then expanding it to the Donkey Kong piece and Yoshi. So I would say, again, I thought Nintendo World like felt very experiential. You feel like you're in the video game, which is amazing. It's also, I mean, it's something that like people my age definitely we grew up with it. Like so for me, it's very nostalgic. But it's also something where, as I mentioned earlier, I recently got a Nintendo Switch too, and it's something that like even younger generation and like kids nowadays are looking at it like, oh, this is familiar to me. I know Donkey Kong, I know Mario, I know Yoshi. So this is one where no matter what generation, for the most part, or how old you are, this is something you can kind of relate to, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I liked it. I thought the theming was spot on. I did feel like I was in a video game. The lines were crazy. We only got on Yoshi.
Oh,
so which I call like the people mover of Super Nintendo World. It gave me like people mover vibes. But Donkey Kong area, it was perfect. They did a great job.
Did you or anybody in your family buy the Nintendo, like the band? Because there's a whole game situation going on there.
No, and my youngest was so annoyed. He's like, you got to buy something else just to have fun in here.
So we did. And I mean, it's a gimmick and I fully get that. Like, and Allison and I talked about this quite a bit, that they really should try to, at Universal, turn the band into almost like the Magic Band situation at Disney. Because the Magic Band situation at Disney, for those that don't know, is amazing. In the fact that basically years ago, when you would check in at Disney Hotel, you get a free Magic Band, which is like a digital, I don't know, RFID chip or something like that. But basically your entire stay could be built around it. So with this band at Disney World, it's your room key, it's your room charge, it's your room ticket, it's your photo pass, it's your express pass. It's basically everything. And it makes everything very easy versus I would say for me, being such a planner that I am, I did tend to get a little anxious with all the different cards and tickets and room keys that I had at Universal. So if they could somehow emulate that, that'd be great. I will say, I know when Disney first did it, they invested like over $1 billion into it. So it is not cheap for them to kind of like, you know, transition over to that.
Yeah.
Again, I'll get into in a future episode about the whole Magic Band and about the Disney experience. But for me, I was kind of hopeful that the Nintendo Band could be something like that. I mean, it's neat. It looks cool. It's an oversized, like old school slap bracelet. If anybody grew up in the 80s or 90s remembers, basically Nintendo World, you can slam on some of the, let's say the Mario kind of like question mark bricks. It beeps. And then if you go in the app, it gives you points. It was fun. It's a gimmick. Is it worth it or is it needed? I don't know. It's like $40 for the band. We bought 2 of them, obviously. So kind of is what it is. I know you said you went on Yoshi. I went on all 3 rides, as these are basically 3 of the only rides I did in the whole park because I wanted to make sure that I didn't get sick. The Mario Kart ride is basically the same as it is out in Hollywood. It's cool. It's a virtual reality simulator of sorts. You're playing the video game, sort of. The thing that you're in is moving and you're shooting. Donkey Kong for me blew me away though. Had you seen any, I know you're on TikTok, any of the Donkey Kong like POVs or ride throughs on TikTok or anywhere else?
I saw some, but I tried not to watch because I like to go in and kind of experience for myself, at least the first time, and then I'll watch. But I did see how like the track worked and stuff like that. That line was no less than 175 minutes anytime we went in there to see if we could get on.
Was single rider ever an opportunity for you guys, or are you guys not really into that?
So my youngest, he's a teen, but he was able to take advantage of it. But they ended up closing it for a lot of the rides because the capacity was just so high. It would say, you know, single rider unavailable. So only twice I think he was able to do single rider, which was fine. He was happy. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, we did. So we did Donkey Kong Country twice, and I think it was of the rides that I rode. Obviously, have to throw that out there because I did not do a bunch of the rides that you'll get into in a bit. I love Donkey Kong Country. First time we did it with Express, and I think the line was maybe about 25 minutes to a half hour. Second time we did single rider, myself and my daughter, except they were a little chaotic at the actual onboard point. So somehow they screwed up and put us next to each other. So it ends up working out pretty well. I'll say if you've seen the videos of Donkey Kong, the ride, it doesn't do it justice. Like when I saw the videos online, I was like, oh, they make it look silly because it looks like, and it's not truly on the track that you think it's on, because there were some cool points within the ride where it looks like it jumps off the track and onto a different track, which even when I saw like live and in person, I was like, that looks kind of dumb. But then when I actually got on the ride, like you totally forget about it. And like, you feel like you're jumping around and bouncing around, and it's really, really neat. Plus Donkey Kong Country also has an on-ride photo, which if you have a photo pass is really cool to experience and get as well. So for me, I'm definitely I love those types of things. But like for me, it was just a great ride. And again, for me, someone who gets sick on roller coasters, it was well within what I could do, but it definitely pushed me a little bit. So it was fun.
Cool.
And then after getting off of that, I'm not sure, did you try the Donkey Kong Sundae or Donkey Kong float that they had?
No, we did not. It was hot. I did
Yes.
hear that it was hard to find shade in the park. So when it's hot, we really don't have much of an appetite. We did look, but I did not drink or eat much on that day. Well, I drank, but I didn't eat.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I say the Donkey Kong float, which is in the Donkey Kong area, was really, really cool. So basically you can get the base one, which is just kind of a plastic cup, or they have these really cool looking like mugs, reusable mugs, which are like $6 more.
I think that's a great thing that they do there. That was one of the things that I'm like, Disney needs to do this. The mug that you can refill throughout the entire park for your length of stay.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was really great. So we obviously, being the dorks that we are, we got we paid $6 extra for the mug. So basically within the mug, they put a plastic cup, and in that cup they put I forget, it's some kind of juice. Then there's a waffle cone bowl on top of that has ice cream, and there's all sorts of stuff on top of it. Like, it looks really cool, tastes really cool. I'm sure I'll probably post like a picture or something after this podcast drops to kind of show what it looks like. But it was really good. Both of us enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Nice. Also ended up getting the princess was taking pictures. They had a line for her. When I was in Hollywood, they had Mario and Luigi. Line was too long, so we didn't get to do it. And they also had Yoshi out there as well. So I think they tend to rotate the characters that are there. And for me, again, being that I can't do all the rides, I tend to try to get whatever pictures that I can. So did you and or your family get any character pictures or anything like that? Or do you guys more focus on the rides?
We did. So my daughter, my middle child, does not like rides either. She gets sick and disoriented. So she loves to do the character stuff. So we did. We met the Bride of Frankenstein. Then we went back later. We met the Bride with Frankenstein.
Nice.
Isle of Berk. We did. Trying to think what else.
Did you do the toothless photo op?
No, that line was crazy. I wanted to. I think he's so cute. He looks like my dog. So I did want to. But again, we had to like maximize all of our time. So we did not. I was voted out. Like, nobody was waiting with me 100 minutes to meet Toothless.
Did you guys do any divide and conquers, or do you pretty much all stay together for the whole day?
So my husband and my son love rides. They did Stardust Racers, which is pretty intense roller coaster. So that's when Adriana and I broke off and went and explored the hotel. Nice. Kind of cooled off over there.
So to that point, actually, real quick, so you were able to get into the hotel?
Yes.
And I asked because in theory there were signs that say only if you're staying here can you go in and out through this entrance. Mm-hmm. What I will say is, for me and Allison, outside of the early entry, they didn't really check the key for the hotel, so they're able to get in and out. But
where would they have checked it when you went into the hotel and there was that security guard? Yes. Okay, no, he opened the door for us and just said,
which is great because there's a sign there that says, only for people who are staying at this hotel. Mm-hmm. And in theory, that security guard is supposed to. I'm curious if once they increase capacity, if they start enforcing that more. I mean, mm-hmm. I'll say I guess that's where I'll get into the hotel piece for a second. Staying at the hotel had its pros and its cons. So the hotel was great in the fact that, again, roll out of bed, get dressed, go downstairs, I'm right in the park, which was awesome.
Yeah.
The biggest upside, I would say, was, and again, obviously, if they were to enforce that only if you stay at the hotel can you go in through that entrance, was the fact that, like, anytime that I bought merch, I could just go right to my room, drop it off, and go back outside. Like, who wants to carry around a bag full of, and for me, I buy shirts, I buy pins, all sorts of stuff. I didn't want to carry it around. So Allison went on a ride. I went back to the room, dropped it off. We stayed on the club level, so it gave us access to the lounge, which had like beverages. So mm-hmm. getting beverages throughout the day. And also, I'll say from a lunch perspective, we went inside at like 1:00, ate at one of the bars in the hotel, had lunch, and then went back out. And it made the experience a lot easier and simpler, I would say.
Sure, yeah.
The downside, and I would say it's probably because it's kind of early, was it definitely felt like a hotel that just opened like a month or two ago.
Yeah, I agree.
There were a number of things from staying there that they just hadn't worked the kinks out for. So at night, they have a bit of a water show where you can watch like the different fountains and lights, mm-hmm. and all sorts of stuff going on like that. I'd read online that there was a way to listen to the music in your room via the TV or something, because, they make the windows fairly soundproof. So that way you can sleep if you want to while the park's open. But when I went to the front desk, they said, oh, no, it's a great idea, but we haven't done that yet. So little things like that. Like if you're going to have a great show from the room that you can see in the window, it might make sense to somehow pipe in the audio into the room.
Sure.
A little different than Miracosta in Tokyo Disney Sea, where you could actually open the windows so you can hear the show. This, it was a traditional hotel where you couldn't open the windows, so that wasn't really an option. Also, much like most other hotels, you've got these like credit card looking things that are your room key, which were inconsistent. It worked on some elevators it didn't. And it wasn't even like, hey, I deactivated it against my credit card, my phone. It was a case of literally some of the elevator scanners just did not work. So, we're sitting here in June, they've been open for a couple of months. I'm sure by the time I go back in September, they'll probably have a lot more of those things worked out. So what were your thoughts on the hotel? Since you didn't stay there, but you did go in there for shade or for snacks at some point.
A little underwhelming as far as like the lobby. I thought it was very small.
Yep.
Looked like your typical just, hotel. I didn't go upstairs to the lounges. I know that there's a lounge it looked to me in videos that I had seen super themed. But just the basic lobby area, it was nice. It was clean and it was new, which is great, but a little underwhelming. Nothing too, nothing outstanding that I was like, oh gosh, that's so cool. But the AC was great and that's what we needed. And I made sure to go buy a water for $7.99,
of course,
and support the hotel. But, just a little underwhelming.
Yeah, to that point, I would say Allison and I did peek up to the bar on the roof, and it looked pretty cool. And I think that's probably a better way to watch the water show versus in my room. Additionally, what I'll say is I do prefer the Hard Rock Hotel. Again, it's a new hotel. It's working out the kinks. They offer transportation from the Helios over to City Walk. They said it was like every 15 minutes, but the buses were very consistent, both going to City Walk and coming back. Versus staying at the if you're going to go just for Epic, Helios is probably the way to go for the early entry, the location, stuff like that. But if you're going to do all of Universal, I would still strongly prefer the Hard Rock. It's a very quick and easy walk to the parks from the Hard Rock. The theming of the Hard Rock is amazing. The pool is incredible.
Yeah, the pool was great.
I think all those things, I'm going back in September, largely around Epic again and Halloween Horror Nights. So I'm staying at Helios again, but I think for future trips, I'll probably more focus on the Hard Rock because it's just it's closer to City Walk. There's more stuff to do. Yeah.
Does Helios have a pool?
They do. And that's also part of our challenge too, in the fact that our room key did not open the pool gate. Again, a quirk that they're still trying to work through, I'm sure. I'm sure the next time I go back, it'll be fixed. But, in its infancy, these kinds of things have to happen, I guess. Okay, so we talked about Nintendo World. What was the next world that you went to after Nintendo?
Dark Universe, my favorite.
Okay, Dark Universe. So tell me about your experience there. Tell me what you liked. Tell me everything.
The theming, you felt like you were living in that old village where all the monsters lived. We walked in and it was daytime. And the first thing all of us said is like, oh my gosh, we have to come back here at night. This is so cool. Victoria Frankenstein's castle, if you walk in a little more, opens up to you. It looked massive. I don't know if it was forced perspective or what, but it literally looked massive, which has the Monsters Unchained ride. And then the burning blade, the windmill with the burning blades on it that lights up every 15 minutes. I just thought it's so cool. I like creepy stuff, but not too creepy. So it was perfect. It was that balance of like fun movie monster, nothing too scary. I just thought it was themed perfectly. We walked through one of the restaurants. We weren't eating there yet. It was 10 in the morning.
Was it steakhouse or was it?
We went through the steakhouse.
Okay.
It was so cool. Just the pictures and the videos that I have, you're not in Disney. We're Disney people. We go there a lot. There was a vampire up against the wall with just steaks all in him. And I'm like, you would never see this in Disney. This is very cool. It was so cool. In the back, there was the Burning Blade bar. And again, we just wanted to walk through and see everything. And I looked at my husband. I'm like, if I was a drinker and if I was a local, this is where I would come and sit. This is so cool. It was basically themed for like monster killers. It was kind of their hangout. I just loved it. I thought the theming was spot on. They had a lot of that like streetmosphere, what they would call it in Disney, which Disney does not have a lot of anymore. There was a woman walking around playing the violin, like really eerie, creepy, suspenseful music, and telling a story about monsters. It was just super immersive. I thought it was really, really well done.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. And for those that like puns, so Steakhouse it's a restaurant, so you think steakhouse as an Steak, but it's spelled Stake, as in a stake through the heart, in terms of the way that you kill some monsters. So I thought that was really, I love puns. I thought that was really, really cool. Because I went with Allison, my 15-year-old, I was a little more cautious in terms of what rides I would do. I know at this age, if I throw up on a ride, that could be it for the day for me. And I wanted to make sure she had the experience that she deserves and she wants. As I'm going back in September, I could be a little more risky then. So I didn't do the Monsters Unchained ride. What I will say is I did walk through the queue with her, and I thought the queue was incredible. Like
So
the show
cool.
they put on, like the animatronics, like
So cool.
it's a lot of what I think Guardians of the Galaxy, the new ride at Epcot, was supposed to be before they cut the budget and got rid of the animatronics. Like Frankenstein looks like Frankenstein, like Dracula, like they just look really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then, much like I do oftentimes, I bailed right before the ride got on, but that was always my plan. Allison went on the ride and she thought it was good. Can you tell me about your thoughts about that ride?
Sure. So I did do what you did the first time. It was the first ride that we waited for. It was only a 30 or 25-minute wait. So I did the queue, and then they do a little pre-show where they kind of show you how the ride vehicle is going to work. And when I saw that thing going back and forth, I'm like, it's 10 a.m. I'll do this at the end of the night. I don't want to ruin everybody's day.
Right.
So I thought the queue, like you said, was amazing. The going up the stairway, you really feel like you're in this like old mansion. It was super cool. I did end up going back on it at night with my family, and so cool. Such a cool ride. You do move around a lot, but I did not get nauseous. I did not get dizzy, which I'm kind of like you. It can set me off, and then it just ruins my day.
Yep.
I loved it. And again, you're not in Disney. You are not in Disney when you go on that ride. You get wet, spurted with what's supposed to be blood. Like, when would that happen to you?
Not a chance.
On a Disney ride. It was so cool. My husband said it's his new favorite ride, and he goes on everything.
Nice.
Better than Rise of the Resistance, he thought. Better
Really?
Yeah. He
Okay.
loved it. He loved it.
Have you done Forbidden Journey over at Universal? That's the Harry Potter ride inside the castle.
Yeah.
So what I've been told is, I mean, I threw up on Forbidden Journey once. I'll just throw that out there.
Yep. Same.
And I've been told that this is similar, but maybe not nearly as bad. Like, how would you compare those two rides?
I think the only comparison is the ride vehicle,
Okay.
because it's 4 across with, the harness, and
Yes.
even the harness, it doesn't come down tight on you. It's really just there. So when they're flinging you around, I think with Harry Potter, it felt very closed in.
Right.
And that kind of made me sick, like where I was able to see my ride vehicle moving with everything else.
Yep.
This is wide open, so you don't feel caged in, and there's not a lot of screens. Screens tend to make me super nauseous, like
Okay.
the Ministry of Magic ride did me in. So it feels live, like everything that's happening is happening right in front of you, not on a screen. So I think that helped a lot with my nausea and my feeling dizzy, is like what I was seeing was right in front of me, not kind of how I perceived it after. Yeah.
Understood. So with that said, you just mentioned the Ministry of Magic ride. So did you and your family all do the Harry Potter ride over there?
So we did. We waited the 200 minutes.
Okay.
It was all that my husband wanted to do, as what he had planned before. He ended up loving monsters way more,
Yep.
but going into it, he really wanted to do the Ministry of Magic ride. He's a huge Harry Potter fan. So I'm like, you know what? We're going to wait with you, because he's our sponsor. We call him. Thanks to him, we were able to have that wonderful vacation. So we did wait, and the queue is really cool. The line, it goes on forever and ever and ever. It is the biggest queue I've ever seen. Every time you go into another room, you think you're going to load, and it's a massive room, which is themed really cool. But like, I just felt like that was the longest queue I've ever waited on. I did not like the ride. I thought it was just a lot of screens, a lot of just moving around. I didn't think the story, it felt a little chaotic. I didn't love it. My husband really liked it. I
Okay.
didn't love it. My son, he was like middle of the road. He would never wait that long again for it, he said. And then, of course, my daughter, she just waited for us walking around the Ministry of Magic taking pictures. She did not want to go on.
Got it. So we had a fairly different experience. So we stayed at Helios, so we got early entry. So early entry, you get into the park at 9 o'clock. But when I checked into Helios, they said that's great, but people tend to start getting in line for early entry at like 8 o'clock or earlier. So obviously the time gets earlier and earlier and earlier. So we got into the line around 7:45 at our hotel. I think around like 8:30 or so, they let basically like our batch of people into the park to kind of like hang out like in a queue area. And they did advertise and they said that Ministry of Magic does not open for early entry. So most of the park opens at 9 o'clock for early entry. However, Harry Potter will open at 10 o'clock. Weirdly, at about 8:45, they started walking us over, and we were probably about like, I don't know, 10th or 15th in line for Harry Potter. And we kept going through the queue. I walked through the queue. I thought the queue looked amazing, very long, as you had said. And at literally 9:10, they're like, okay, it's time to get on the ride. And we're like, wow, that's pretty great. So at that point, I said, okay, so wait, this is the actual line. They said yes. I said, okay, great. How do I leave? And they're like, you want to leave? Like, this is the ride people wait in line for 3 hours for. And I'm like, yes, but I'd like to spend another 9 or 10 hours in the park and enjoy it. So
Yeah.
whatever. So this is where, for me, and Allison, she's 15. She's okay by herself. So she gets into the ride area and they start pointing me in a different direction. So I'm like, okay, she has her phone. We meet up, whatever. But this is one where like the queue is so big and the lines are so weird. They don't really have good signage or a good queue area of like how to go. And especially if you're the only person exiting, it's dark and it's a little bit tough to find. So I was wandering the queue exit area for a good 10 minutes trying to figure out how to get out of there. And like every employee I could find was like, I was like, how do I get out? Like, why do you want to get out? I'm like, just let me get
Let
out.
me out.
I don't need to have this conversation again. Please just let me go. Please let me leave. So pointed it out or whatever. I got outside. I sat down. And then Allison was out like 5 minutes later and she said it was good.
Yeah.
So I'm probably one of the only people who's ever, walked the entire queue or waited the entire queue only to go straight to the exit.
Yeah.
They're like, you sure you don't want to do a child swap? I'm like, what am I going to swap? I have other children to swap. Like, what are we doing here? So it was fun. It was good.
Yeah.
I hung outside, caught up, I guess, in some email while Allison was on the ride. And that was that. What I will say is the Harry Potter area was very underwhelming. Of the 3 Harry Potters that they have, Islands of Adventure, Universal, and this one, it has the ride, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't really have that much personality to it, I don't think. It wasn't really that fantastic. Of what I heard, they're in the process already of getting permits to expand the Harry Potter area. Same thing with, I heard over in Nintendo, they're working on like either a Zelda ride or something like that.
Yeah.
So they've already got plans for future stuff. But I'd say in its current state, outside of the Harry Potter ride, there really is nothing else to do in the Harry Potter section there.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty. Like it did feel very Parisian, and it was very pretty. We went back to all the lands at night. We wanted to see them during the day, and then we wanted to see them at night. And it was pretty, but you're right. There's really just shops and food and beverage stuff like that. There's not much. Oh, we saw the show.
Okay.
The Fantastic Beasts show in the center. It kind of looks like a tent for
And how was the show? Did you enjoy that, or was it okay? Or
it was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. Yeah. Okay. I did not watch the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Nor did most people either. So you're not really in the minority in that one, I think.
Yeah, of course, my husband did, and my daughter. They're huge Harry Potter, so they did watch that. And I thought it was just okay. You don't have to see the movies to get the show. I don't know if it would make it better. You would just know who Newt Scamander is, and yeah, it was okay. It was okay. The process of it, you go from the queue into a huge room where they do a pre-show, and then they open up doors, and there's I would say probably 200 people. I think I saw a sign that said max capacity was 288.
Okay.
And then they just tell you, okay, go into the next room. So there's no direction, no nothing. And people's manners in those situations drive me crazy.
Yes.
They're just stepping on you, on your back, separating your party. So pro tip, I would say just hang back and wait for everybody to get into that room, especially if you're claustrophobic, because they are just herding you from a big room to a skinny hallway that leads into another room. And it took about 5 minutes for everybody to kind of like duck waddle into the other room. And I don't like being that close to people.
I hear you. I hear you. I don't think I ever did, but then post COVID, I'm even a little more, weird with being that tight with people. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think in the summer when it's hot and
Oh, sure.
and I mean, this is maybe for something. So many people pick their nose,
Oh,
adults. Yeah, just standing in line. I'm like, I am shocked how many adults will put their fingers up their nose in public. You want to do that at home, go for it.
uh,
So yeah, I didn't want to get hurted with the people that I saw just picking their nose.
yeah. Think about that the next time you have to shake some random person's hand, I guess, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we both did Harry Potter, the area. I'm still on the fence on when I go back in September, what rides I'm going to try by myself. I'm thinking the Monsters Unchained, the Harry Potter, I'm on the fence about. We'll see. I mean, I'm doing 2 days at Epic. I probably do Monsters. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm shocked the virtual reality doesn't make you nauseous. That makes me
It
so
does.
nauseous.
Generally,
Oh,
it
okay. You
does.
just
I'll
went for
say,
the team.
yeah. So years ago at Best Buy, they had a PlayStation virtual reality demonstration, and literally 2 minutes into it, I almost vomited in Best Buy. It's not great. There's just a lot of things that I've tried that just, I mean, it is what it is. We're all wired differently, I guess. One day I'll master it or not, I guess. But
do it at night where you can have a great day, and then if you have to go back to your hotel room and sleep it off, and
yeah, and staying at Helios, I just kind of like wobble back to my hotel room, collapse, and hope for the best the next day. So next up, and the fourth land, which was I think one of my favorite ones, was Isle of Burke. So that was the How to Train Your Dragon. So the day before we went to Florida, my family watched the new How to Train Your Dragon live action film, which I thought was very well done. If you saw the animated one that came out years ago, it's exactly the same thing, but it's live action. Like I think almost word for word, it's basically the same thing.
Oh, good.
It was really, really cool, though. I thought it was well done. So we did this, A, because we were looking for something to do, B, it was in theaters, and C, for Allison and I to do some homework before going to the parks. Now, again, I'm going to preface it by saying that as soon as I saw most of the rides in the Isle of Burke, I said, no, thank you for today. And I went and waited in line to go meet Toothless. That is the dragon from How to Meet Your Dragon. While Allison used the Express Pass and rode all of the rides. So between me and Allison, we did everything at the Isle of Burke. Individually, we didn't do everything, but collectively, if you aggregate us together, we did everything in the park. Did you guys do all of the rides there, or what was your experience like?
We did not. I tried to make it to the last show, and they closed the queue 5 minutes before for safety reasons, they had said. So I missed the show.
Sure.
Nobody wanted to wait to meet Toothless, so I didn't get to do that. My youngest did single rider for the hang glider ride, so he did that.
Did he enjoy that?
He did. He
Awesome.
likes anything. That kid, he's the easy peasy, is just happy to be alive. So he did enjoy that. I thought it looked like a carnival ride personally, but
safer probably, but yes.
Yes, yeah. He waited online single rider for the boat ride, but it closed down.
No.
So he got offline for that. And that was really it. I wrote a note. My husband and my daughter ate at the Spitfire Grill. They were looking forward to it a lot. It was like protein bowl. So pick your chicken with rice, veggies. It was not good. Oh. Unfortunately, it looked like it had been made prior and just sat under the lights. So soggy rice, kind of chewy meat. But if you get it fresh, I would assume it would be delicious. But they were a little underwhelmed with that. I thought during the day, the land just looked so cool. The colors, how bright it was, that blue water that almost looked like it was glowing. But at night, very underwhelming, very dark, and you couldn't see a lot of the colors that make it pop. Yep. So during the day, I think that portal and land is really cool, but at night, so.
Gotcha. So a couple of things to add to that. So I waited by myself to meet Toothless the dragon. I thought it was a really cool interaction or experience. Now, I will say it was about 95 degrees. And the Toothless experience, they have a character or two with the dragon as part of this experiential thing you're doing. I was excited as the line was moving, and it was Hiccup, who's the main male character in the movie, as well as, I don't remember what her name was, but the main female lead, the two of them with the dragon.
Girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
About 5 minutes before it was my turn, the two of them swapped out and they brought in one of the old guys. Again, I get it. It's 95 degrees, and I was talking to an employee who said that, like, because of the weather and the heat, they definitely rotate people out more frequently. Yeah. I get it. So I was hopeful, but it was what it was. Still, with that said, I mean, they put on a really good show where it's basically you, the dragon, and the character, and they make first of all, they make you feel like you're the only person there, which is fantastic. They're talking about like as if you live like in like that world. They're like, he's like, oh, where are you from? Like Jersey. He's like, oh, are there dragons up in New Jersey? And I'm like, well, and kind of like trying to play into character and stuff like that. So it was fun. Plus, like, I don't necessarily understand the technology behind how the dragon works, but it's really cool. And that, like, it acts like you would think Toothless the dragon would act in that situation, with the bob in its head, the eyes moving, and stuff like that. Now, to pull a little bit behind the curtain a little bit, I'll say on the flip side, when I was in Nintendo World and met the princess, there was a woman about 6 feet away from Princess who had a tablet, who you could tell was pushing buttons for when the princess would close her eyes or say something or whatever.
Gotcha.
So that was a little easier for me to understand in terms of how it literally worked. The dragon, though, I'm not really sure, but it was cool. Maybe there's somebody inside there. Maybe it's kind of magic. I don't know. Either way, I got a lot of really cool pictures. Like, they'll use the photo pass. They'll take your phone and take pictures. So I got a lot of cool things from different angles, which was fun. One thing we didn't mention earlier that I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of was each section of the park has what they call a portal, because I know Megan mentioned that before. So it's not like what Disney does sometimes, which is kind of challenging, is like when you go from Toy Story Land to Galaxy's Edge, like it's very, I guess, like subtle in terms of like where Toy Story Land ends and Galaxy's Edge begins. Here, it's not subtle at all. Literally, you walk into like a doorway and like all of a sudden everything changes. So you're no longer in like the main area, and now you're in Nintendo World, or now you're in Monsters area and stuff like that. Definitely a different approach. Made for some really cool pictures, I would say, because oftentimes they had photographers in front of the portal, so you can get a picture in front of the Monsters portal or Nintendo portal or whatever else like that. Different approach, different perspective. Obviously very different than Islands of Adventure, where one point you're in Harry Potter area, next point you're in Jurassic Park. Like, you look left and right, it's very different, versus here they have a different way of doing it. So that was that. Okay, so we did the fourth land. The fifth land, which is more of the catch-all generic land, is the Celestial Park, which is generally what is outside of all four portals, and you can see it from the hotel. This is where the fountain is. They have the carousel, the Stardust Racers, stuff like that. I know you mentioned earlier that your husband did the Stardust Racers. Did he like it? What was his perspective?
Yes, he loved it. He said the queue is all outside, but you are covered and there's fans, so you don't feel like you're getting a heat stroke before you get on the ride. He said the ride was super smooth, really intense. A lot of people have compared it to Velocicoaster. We have not made it over to Universal since Velocicoaster opened, so couldn't speak on that. But he said it was smooth. It was really cool. It does look like you are coming within just like inches of that other coaster that's racing you. They loved it. They liked it a lot. I thought Celestial Park was super cool. At night, it was awesome. Just all of the lights, all of the fountains. We ate lunch in Celestial Park. I did like it. I thought it was cool.
Nice. Yeah, Allison loves the Stardust Racers as well. She rode it twice. She really liked it a lot. She rode, I think, like one of them is supposed to be faster or better than the other, because there's two like parallel racers. She did both. I'm not sure she really knew much of a difference, but she enjoyed it. And while she was doing it the second time, I did the carousel in Celestial Park, because that's probably more of a Jeff safe ride.
Yeah.
It was different than your traditional carousels you would do in like Magic Kingdom or stuff like that. Do you guys do the carousel or no?
My daughter did not want to do it. Like,
okay.
No, she's a teenager now,
Sure.
like a real teen. So I did go over and look at it, and it does look different, like how most you come down from the ceiling and rotate. It looked, very cool. And the creatures were all really cool looking.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Also, I rode it at night, so the lights were cool.
Nice.
And then also part of the water show, like the entire park's lights change up. So I think I might have been on the carousel during the water show.
Oh,
so
cool.
the lights in the carousel were interacting with the lights in the water show and all that kind of stuff. So definitely a really, really cool setup. Again, recognizing that the park's been open for a couple of months, probably 1 month officially. So curious to see, beyond the expansions, like what happens or what changes, or kind of they fix it or adjust things over the next couple of years. So lots of fun things there. So we've hit all the parks within Epic Universe. We've hit all the experiences. Anything else within Epic that you wanted to call out that maybe we didn't get to touch before?
Just like the subtle, they have a lot of little Easter eggs when, I don't know all the little creatures from the Fantastic Beasts movie or Harry Potter, but I noticed in the windows there was A lot of the little creatures doing little creature things. There's one that likes shiny things and steals all the shiny stuff. I forget the name of it, but they were in a window. I noticed them like taking jewelry in the dark universe. If you look up at all of the houses, they have stakes coming out of their chimneys, which I'm sure double as lightning rods. But I thought that was really cool. They did a really nice job with those little Easter egg touches. I noticed a lot of them around the park.
Nice. For me, I really enjoyed it. I obviously went with Allison, my 15-year-old, and I tried to build it around her. So for the most part, I was a little more conservative in terms of what I did because I wanted to make sure that her experience was top notch. I am going back again in September by myself for my usual Halloween Horror Nights trip. So I'll probably be a little more aggressive. And if you get any reports that I threw up, that wouldn't be surprising. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to try to do a few different things. Wanted to kind of finish up by talking about a few details of the Helios Hotel that I didn't necessarily get to pepper in throughout. So I talked about the buses. I talked about the room key issue. A few things. I would say the actual room for Helios felt a little bit more modern, which is nice. So, for example, there was a tablet in the room, which is connected to the wall or to the nightstand, that basically it controls everything. It controls the lights, controls the curtains, it controls the TV, it controls everything. So it was a one-stop shop of sorts, which I thought was nice.
That is nice.
It was really, really cool. Additionally, I know a lot of devices, specifically iPhones, have recently gone to USB-C ports. This is probably too dorky for most people. But if you know, most hotels still have the old school USB plugs. So this one had both. This one definitely upgraded with that. This kind of reminds me of years ago when a lot of gyms on their treadmills had the really, really old school iPhone or iPod plug. And then as soon as Apple switched it over, those treadmills were kind of useless or had a plug that nobody used. So I thought it was really cool that they had USB-C plugs. I'm probably one of the few here, but that's something I'm going to call out. Last thing I want to call out about the hotel, and this isn't specifically for Helios, this is all hotels as a whole, is I love sleeping in the dark. I like it to be completely dark, meaning like when I first got my apartment back in 2002, I legitimately blacked out the windows in my room because I wanted it to be as dark as possible. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, at that point, you couldn't open the windows when I was in my apartment because the construction paper I used to black out the windows made it tough. And then Beth wasn't happy because it got way too hot and we didn't have central air. It was a whole thing. So anyway, hotels, I think, need to do a better job of being able to find a way to black out the actual room. Now, the fact that you can close the curtains is great, but for the most part, like you can see light around the curtains. Additionally, even just going to bed at night, most hotels nowadays I see have like these night lights that you can't turn off. So a lot of, this is the same thing at Disney as well. Yeah. They have like bathroom night lights or whatever. So like I end up having to put like either washcloths in front of them or something. Like I can't be the only person who likes to sleep in the dark.
Oh, you're not. My husband and I do the same thing. He's even brought tape to tape over things because we love it dark. Even last night, like the power strip for the court, the light is normally blocked. My husband moved something. I got up at like midnight and I put something over it because same. We like it dark. Yeah,
I have the same. I have a night strip under a power strip underneath my bed. I have, I think, a shoe I put over it to block that light. Like in 2025, there's got to be a better way to do it than this. I'll say, I think 15 years ago, I was in a hotel traveling for work, and I think it was like the smoke detector kept blinking and it was driving me nuts. So I either put something over it or took it apart. Within 30 seconds, I think the front desk called me to ask me if there was a fire in my room. So I know, I guess now what lights I can touch and what I can't. But like in 2025, there's got to be a much better way to block out light when you're trying to sleep. Maybe this goes viral or maybe this becomes a clip I use. I don't know. Maybe people look at it and say Jeff's just an idiot. I'm not really sure.
No. I think the USB-C, people care about that stuff, and a dark hotel room. I think you're making valid points.
Thank you. This is what I run on if I run for any kind of political office in the future is let's ban lights that don't turn off and whatever else like that, right? Last thing to call out before we call it a day is I've mentioned in the past that I'm probably the world's worst introvert in the fact that I wear all sorts of stuff that kind of like just attracts attention. Like I'm wearing right now, a Chicago Cubs hat. I have no interest in baseball, but people talk to me about it. So what I've started doing is when I travel, making a list of how many people actually try to approach me based on what I'm wearing. So on this trip, I had as many as 3 people try to approach me to talk about Cubs baseball. I think I have that face that says, "Hey, talk to me," which unfortunately doesn't go with my mindset of, "Hey, I'd like to be kept to myself." So one day I'll figure it out. Either I can wear like a full mask or something, or maybe I'll smile less. I'm not really sure what it is, but at some point, maybe the universe will figure itself out, or maybe the universe is just messing with me. And this is kind of where we are today. So I don't know. Anyhow, would you go back to Epic Universe?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I want to go back with my brothers and my parents. I would totally go back.
And would you do anything different?
I would get Express Pass.
Gotcha. Yeah, Express Pass definitely helped. Even for me, who I didn't ride probably half, 2/3 of the rides I did do, I was able to fly through, and Allison was able to, wait in line very quickly without it. So for me, it sounds like you'd love to go back again with Express. I'm going back again in September. I definitely have Express. They have different options. And getting Express in September is much cheaper than getting Express in June or July, as it's not a peak season. So really, really excited for that. I've already paid for it, and that is that. Anything else you'd like to talk about, or anything you want to support, plug, or promote before we call it a day?
No, this is great. I love being here. Thank you for asking me to come back and get to talk for an hour about stuff I love.
Awesome. Well, Megan, it's been a pleasure as always. You are in the 3 Timers Club. I'm sure when we get you to the 5 Timers Club, we'll get you a T-shirt or some kind
I'm
of merch.
definitely getting a T-shirt. I was going to text you like, hey, I want a T-shirt.
And we do have, I've already had a few made or whatever. Instead of saying host, it says guest.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I get one that says guest?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk offline later about that. So with that said, Megan, thank you as always for joining. So as Megan had just politely mentioned, we do, as I mentioned earlier in the show, have T-shirts for sale. So they're $20. Send me a message via social media, whether it be on Instagram, whether it be on email, whatever it is. $20 if you're local, $20 cash or Venmo or whatever Zelle you want to send it over to me at. If you need it out of town, I could ship it to you. It's exact shipping. We don't make money off of shipping here. It helps support the show and it helps support my daughter who is trying to make some money here and there. Once again, as a reminder, we're on Instagram at Everybody Has a Story Pod. My personal Instagram is at Seltzer77. For all things Jeff Seltzer, you can reach me over at jeffseltzer.com. TikTok is at Everybody Has a Story Pod. I tend to post some clips from the show on there, so sometimes I'll post them ahead of time. Now, being that we're recording this the day before this one drops, probably won't get any teasers, but you never know. We'll see how motivated I am later today. Tell everybody that the show is on all podcast platforms, video on Spotify and YouTube at Everybody's a Story Pod, audio everywhere else. We have a couple of cool things coming up the next few weeks, including our special 1-year anniversary show, which I'm working on some really cool stuff for, as well as I will be at PWJ2, their second live independent wrestling show, the end of July, where I'll be recording the live podcast like I did back in June. Beyond that, have an amazing time, have an epic time, and hopefully I will hear from all of you in the near future. Take care and have a great, great week.
Bye.
Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer.